it was almost like a moment, right? When we realized the problem isn't that we're failing. The problem is that we're failing at failing and we're failing too slowly, right? We read a book. I think it was How Will You Measure Your Life? And he was talking about how when they looked at businesses that had survived more than 5 years, they were almost never doing what it was that they started out doing. Whereas a lot of the businesses that failed before that 5 year mark were still doing this thing they started doing, and they had just run out of capital. By the time they realized they needed to change their strategy, it was too late.
Also, you realize with business, one of the important things is being able to pivot. When you realize that's not working, you have to be able to pivot fast, especially at the beginning when you're just starting out.
Because there's a lot of assumptions you're making. You have to do a lot of guesswork. You just don't know, right? And so you have to be able to adjust to what you're learning about, the assumptions that you made, whether they're true or false.
Yeah, like I mean, pretty much no business is like starts off with the right idea right from the get-go, perfect and just straight ahead.
There was a business guy. We were listening to this seminar, and he was talking about his businesses. He has all kinds of businesses, and one of the things that he does is he has a jar, and there's clear marbles and there's colored marbles, and the jar is mostly full of clear marbles, because what they do is every time they fail, they put a marble in the jar. And every time they succeed, they put a colored marble in the jar. And if the jar isn't filling up fast enough, he gets everybody together and says, hey, why aren't we failing at anything? Why aren't you trying it? Why aren't you taking risks? Because the jar is supposed to fill up. And if there's too many colored marbles in the jar, then it also tells you something, that you're not taking actual risks. You're just playing it safe. So the jar is actually supposed to be filled mostly with clear marbles, with the occasional colored marble, because we need to be failing a lot, taking risks, if we're actually going to have successes that are worthwhile.
Well, I think like as humans, right, we try to protect ourselves from failure. We don't want to fail. And so often we end up kind of being blind to our failures because we're afraid of it. But you realize actually we need to embrace our failures and we need to fail faster.
We need to measure them. We need to actually define what is success, what is failure, and not be afraid of the failure. Instead go, it's okay to fail. But we just need to know it happened.
One of the dangers of failing too slowly is that if you're failing too slowly and you're not getting the results, but you're kind of blind to it, it's a very, it's a recipe for burnout, basically, right? And burning out before you're able to get to where you want to go. And so if you can pivot faster, that kind of helps you to hopefully get your results quicker, and then you don't end up burning out because you're starting to get results, right?
We like to not fail, so we hide from it. And the reality is actually like that's something we've been discovering, right? Is that it actually ends up hurting us in the long run. Probably the biggest failure of, we've done so many businesses. We have
tried a lot. We've tried a lot.
We have tried a lot of things in the last 8 years of being married, and most of them have been failures. But the biggest failure that we've had most of the time is that we didn't fail fast enough because we weren't measuring early enough. Just recently, we had a successful failure, we tried something for a month. We put a lot of effort, a lot of time into it in one sense, but at the end of that month, we knew whether it was going to work or not, and it wasn't going to work, so we turned it off. And we were so grateful, because it would have been very easy to end up 6 months down the road and have all these bills, all these expenses that we would have been tied to with clients that we now have obligations to that aren't paying for the bills. And we would have been upside down and in a real pickle, right? But because we were able to set those, measure our success, measure our failures right away, and early on, we were able to figure out really quick whether it was working or not.
And it's so hard because you don't want to fail, and you're like, I wanted this one to succeed, right?
Yeah, it was disappointing. It was a little depressing.
Failure, I don't think, right? But at the same time, we're like, this is the fastest we've ever failed at something we've tried because we really measured it. And that was a huge success.
Yeah. And so as scary as it is to measure, because measurement means there's a possibility of failure, it was totally worth it. It was totally worth it. I don't know if there's anything more to say about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Go out there and fail fast. So you can succeed, like succeed in the way that actually matters to you and
Yeah.
not just end up wherever because you didn't measure, right? So if you would like to learn more about just measuring your life and how to really try to think more in that long term of where you want to go in life, you should go check out our video over here. And
It'll show you how to do that. It's really unique, really cool. Be worth your time.
yeah.
See you in that video, guys.